When I was young, some of my elders, grandparents or uncles and aunts, would their wont to say to me and ask me and my siblings, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Do they still do that to the little people? What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, this morning, when we come here to this place, we're being stretched a little bit in terms of how we might answer that question. Because initially we would say, well, I'm going to be like my dad, I'm going to be a farmer, or maybe a fireman, or an astronaut, or a doctor, or whatever. And when you Google job searches, usually what the criteria for what would be appealing would be how much money you're going to make, right? Is there stability? Do you have benefits? All of which are important, of course. But, again, when we step back from these three scripture readings and say, why did these people that we just heard from, these biblical, magnificent, outstanding biblical people, why did they choose the profession they did? With our friend Isaiah, who totally dedicated his life simply for one purpose, to be like the mouthpiece of God Almighty. And he became one of the most famous people in all of history, simply because he himself, saying, I'm a sinful person, I'm not worthy, but I feel called, and I believe God really wants me to do this for the sake of others. St. Paul, too. Remember, as I said, he persecuted Christians actively. He had letters, credentials to search, find, and kill Christians. But when he had that personal encounter with Jesus, everything changed. He became the most significant missionary for Christ. The one who took the great good news of Christianity outside of the Jewish ambient to the Gentiles and to the world. Again, he felt it was most important that he leave his job as a tent maker and all the other roles he had as a Pharisee within the Jewish community. He left everything. New life, but it was the why was for the sake of others. And you talk about a career change, these three fishermen, Simon, Peter, James, and John, they're just going about their business, washing their nets. And when they experienced the awesomeness of what the power of God looks like in the incarnate one, Jesus, when they experienced it, total, and I would say, talk about a severe, radical career change. They left everything to become disciples. So the motive of the why is what we are asked to reflect on. Last Sunday, in Parish Bulletin, our Director of Music Liturgy wrote a very nice reflection. I won't ask for a show of hands of who read it or who didn't. But when Mo gave us that nice reflection on altruism, altruism is simply living our lives for the sake of others, one way or another. That's really the why of the Christian moral life, is for the sake of others. And certainly out there, it's as much needed today as anywhere at any time. The political reality, the competitiveness, and the negativeness of trying to best one another, just so contrary to the Christian call that we're reflecting on here this morning. Fortunately, I do hear a lot of people in the public sphere who do get it. For example, you frequently will hear people, when they are making their particular political point, they might say, it's for the common good. We're doing this for the common good. And that's really religious language. With the papal documents and the documents from our Catholic bishops, very frequently, that is the why. We do what we do is for the common good. Remember the illustration of Paul, building up the body, using the gifts. But in this case, we're thinking about beyond ourselves. As our Holy Father would so often say, going to the margins where the people who have not heard this message, who have not had the experience of what the Incarnate One looks like, the God among us, what that looks like when it's carried out in everyday common terms. And of course, the Incarnate One, Jesus, is the preeminent example. Preeminent example. From the day we're reading in Luke's Gospel and how he began his ministry when he went to the temple and opened Isaiah and said, today I've come to proclaim liberty to the captives, and it's fulfilled in your hearing. He sat down and he said, this is what I came to do. And what he did for the rest of his life, including, of course, giving his life so that all who come to know him will have the fullness of life. So that's really what our theme for today is. We have our liturgies today here at Christ Our Life. Primarily our ministries are being carried out by the youth of our parish. And I think for all of our young people, this would be the kind of the question for each of our youth, but all of us, when answering that first question we had, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Today, we were given the opportunity to reflect on it. I'm going to live my life for the sake of the well-being of others. If it's in marriage, obviously, where you commit yourself totally, without reservation, to another person. Parenting, to choose to have children, the child, that gift, a tremendous gift of a new person. You give your life totally so that person can grow and be enriched in his or her life. And then each and every job we have, it's an opportunity to demonstrate how Christ is present in the world. So we'll continue to pray for that now through the liturgy today. But now I'm going to invite you to stand as we make our profession of faith. So I ask you, do you believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth?
Amen.